Hi Stampers, it's Linda Schmidt with Stampin' with the Hounds. Today I'm going to be showing you some fun cards featuring the Gilded Leafing that is from Stampin' Up. There is also, you can get this Gilded Leafing, elsewhere too, but Stampin' Up just came out with this in their mini catalog, and it is found on page 33 of the 2021 mini catalog, and it is for $9. You get a container of this Gilded Leafing foil, which is just amazing. It's so pretty, but it is super light, and so when I put mine into a Gladware container because for me to get it back into the container after I opened it, it was impossible. So if you look at this, it's super light and airy, and it's just, it's so pretty. And a little bit goes a long way. This container, I've been playing with this all day today, and I haven't even made a dent in in this container. So I'm going to be showing you several different ways to use this. The main thing that Stampin' Up features with it is kind of like a two-step stamping. And I'll admit, okay, I've been stamping since 2001 with Stampin' Up. And I've gotten rid of a lot, especially the last few years, I've gotten rid of a lot of my old retired stamps. And I was like, I have so many flower stamps, I don't need any more flowers. And when I go to do this technique, because you really need like a two-step stamping for it, I didn't really have many. The only one I had was this one, the Queen's Anne's Lace. Of all the flower sets that I have, I didn't have any other like two-step stamping one. So that's my excuse. I've got to buy some more flower stamps. But anyway, it worked fine. But they, especially in the mini catalog, they're featuring this fine art floral stamp set, which is a perfect one for two-step stamping because it does the solid image, an outline image, and then you can use this one to do that little bit of gold if you wanted to, or you could use this one for the gold. So like this set art gallery is perfect for this. And there's some other ones in the current catalog so again, I'm like, oh, I have an excuse to buy another flower stamp. But anyway, so this one features, I'm going to show you this one today. This one features the heat and stick powder with a two-step stamping set. This one, I did the gilded foil or leafing for this background layer, and that's just using tear and tape and the foil. So that's another way of doing it. This one, I took a die cut, I put it on a adhesive sheet, and then I put my foil on it and then die cut it out. So then you get that really pretty gilded foil die cut image. This one, I took one of our stencils and an adhesive sheet. I put my foil on, and then afterwards I added even glitter. So this one even is like super glittery and super foily. Is that a word? Anyway, so these are the four techniques that I'm going to show you today. So I'm first going to start with the two-step stamping one using the heat and stick powder, which is what basically that art gallery stamp set in the mini catalog is what you would need for it. So I'm going to use my Stamparatus. Make sure I get set up here correctly. So I need my basic gray. Okay, so I'm going to take the outline image first from the set. And I'm going to place this. I may have to move my magnets here. So I like to use my Stamparatus on this just so I'm getting things positioned correctly. So I'm going to place that down. So the stamp is like face down. And then I'll take my Stamparatus and pick it up. And I'm looking for, oh, here we go. And then I will ink this up with the basic grays. I'm going to do the outline image first. And we'll place that on. That looks good. And then I will do my solid image. So I'm going to lay this one face down. And then I'll bring my other side. And then that's going to be inked up in the, sorry, I just had my Versamark pad. Oh, here it is. My Versamark pad. So that's attached. And then we'll ink this up with the Versamark. And then bring this down. And you want to make sure, I'm going to ink that up because I really want this super sticky so that that foil and the heat and stick powder will stick to it. Okay. So you see that inked up? That looks good. Okay, so we'll set this aside. And then I am going to take my heat and stick powder. So the heat and stick powder, it's like a normal embossing powder, but when you emboss it, it becomes tacky. So that glitter, this foil will stick to it. You can also do like flock, anything that's going to be, it's going to become tacky. So, make sure I put that in there. Okay. So I've got my powder on there. And then the main thing is when you're working with this heat and stick powder, you want to make sure your embossing tool is warmed up. So I'm just going to turn it on and let it run for a few seconds just to make sure it's nice and hot. And then I'm going to start applying it to my image. And you're just going to do it until it starts to get shiny. And it should be tacky to the touch. I'm going to do just a little bit more there. Okay. Then you're going to take... So with the gilding foils or gilding leafing, I, again, put it in a Gladware container. Very carefully lift this up because this is so light and airy. And then you only really need a little bit. I'm going to sit so I can make sure I can see what I'm doing here. And then what I'm going to do, so I like to use this. This is an old Stampin' Up! Embossing buddy or embossing tray. You can use paper. I actually treated this with static guard beforehand, so that way my gilding leaf. I might have let this sit for too long because it looks like I'm not sticking. I was talking too long and not letting it stick. So what happens is this. Heat and stick powder, it dries pretty quick. So let me try this again. I may have to do it the other way without the heat and stick powder. My apologies, I was yapping too long. Okay, so the other way you can do is taking a two-way glue pen, and I'm just going to dab on here, and I'm going to make this, let it dry until it becomes a little tacky. This is where I struggle with the heat and stick powder. It's a love-hate relationship. So I want it to be a little bit tacky. Okay. And then you're going to take that foil and you're starting off and you're just kind of pressing it into that tacky surface, and then using your finger and kind of like lightly brushing it into it. Anything excess, go ahead, put it back in your container. And you're just kind of lightly pressing, picking up some of the excess, putting it away. And you're just kind of like burnishing it into that tacky surface. And then any of those big chunks, put it back in your container. And then you can either use a Stampin' sponge. You can use a stiff, stipple, like a stenciling brush. And then you're just going to, again, burnish lightly over that image. And removing some of that excess foil. So there you go. So again, I was talking too long with my heat and stick powder, and so I let it dry too long before I put the foil on. So when you're using that heat and stick powder, once you have that tacky, you need to put that foil right on it right away, and then kind of work it through. Otherwise, in a quick fix, just grab a two-way glue pen, apply it, let it get tacky, and then add your foils. And then when you're done, just burnish, and then tap off any excess. And you can always use your adhesive remover to remove some of those any excess flakes. So there is with the heat and stick powder or your two-way glue pen for applying the foil. So that's what I did on this card. The background that I did, again, I actually took my Versamark pad and I just kind of stamped it randomly onto the background, and then I did the heat and stick powder on top of it, and then it did my foil. So that's kind of how that background effect was done with it. So that's that one. The other one that I like, that I thought was super, super easy, was actually just making your gold foil almost like paper with it, and using your tear and tape. So I'm gonna show you how to do this one next. So here I just took a, this one is, because I wanted, so my base of my card, you know, was the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This piece is going to be the 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to take my tear and tape, and I need, where is it? Oh, here. I like to use my silicone mat, just so that when I'm using my tear and tape, I'm not sticking to my paper. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this tear and tape right along the border of my cardstock. And I'm going to do this on all 4 sides. And this way, like, you can do stripes across your cardstock, you can just do one little line. You know, if you want, like, say, instead of using a ribbon, you could do a gold, you know, the gold gilding, just using your tear and tape. So I've got all 4 sides with that tear and tape on it. And then I'll just take this off. Whew. Gold flying everywhere. And then I like to just run my fingernail down the sides just to make sure that all that adhesive is sticking to the cardstock. And then I will peel the top layer off to remove the adhesive. Okay, and then I'll just fix my little bend there. Any of my excess pieces, I'm just going to tuck them behind. Okay, then I'm going to take my gilding leaf, and this time I'm just actually going to place that adhesive down into my flakes. I'm going to pick up some of them, and there's going to be a ton on here. Ah, look at all that. Crazy. Gently pull some of that excess off. Look at that. It's so pretty. Oh my gosh. Big chunks. All right, we'll take some of these big ones off. All right. And then let's cover this up so I don't have flakes flying everywhere. And then again, same thing. Take your finger. I grab like a bunch, and then I just kind of start burnishing, which is basically in a swirling motion. You're just kind of pressing that foil into that adhesive. So you see I'm going to have a ton left over. So I'm going to grab some of this because I want these big chunks to be saved. Because once they get to be like super fine dust, I really don't save those. Because it doesn't, I don't know, I found that it's harder to work with the finer dust. So really this bigger chunk stuff I want to save and put back into my container. So I'm just using, and this is, the finger is like the best, is what I'm finding for really burnishing in the beginning here of getting that foil onto the adhesive. And then again, if you have a spot that's like missing adhesive, you know, take that two-way glue pen and use that and let it dry until it gets a little tacky. And then you can add your gilding flakes on top of it. All right, so that, I think I've got everything, the big chunks. This all feels like it's been covered. Okay, so here you can see I didn't quite have my tape to the edge, so I am going to take that two-way glue pen And I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to that edge. I'm going to let it dry, get a little tacky. So I'll just kind of burnish my other sides while I'm doing that. I'm waiting. And that feels tacky. So now I'm going to go back in, grab some chunks. Kind of tap. There we go. Much better. And then I think the same thing here. I just didn't quite get to the edge. So I'll let that get tacky. So while I'm waiting, I can take that sponge, my Stampin' sponge, and I'm just going to kind of lightly burnish in a circular motion. I'm kind of picking off some of that excess gilding flakes. Come back in here because now that should be pretty tacky. Just kind of tap, press, and we'll take that sponge and kind of in that circular motion. All right. And then that can just be kind of tucked behind. And I just kind of give it a real quick, make sure all of that looks good. All right. So there is how you can get that little gilded foil or gilded leafing border. And like I said, you can do stripes, diagonal stripes, you can do them horizontal. Same thing, making like your own kind of fun foiled background. So then what I did on this one is, and then I just went in a 1/4 inch smaller and then just layered that sentiment or the image on top of that. So that's like that gilded foil background. Okay. So now let me, oh my gosh, I got foil everywhere here. So now some of these, I'm just gonna, those aren't too small, so we'll put those back in. And then the rest of these, I am just really going to clear off my pad. You can take a Swiffer, bounce sheet, like a Swiffer or a bounce sheet. I just have my Norwex Enviro cloth that I've been using, and then like I said, I pre-treated my tray with Static Guard too on it. Okay, so now my next one I want to show is this one where I'm taking a die cut and I am doing the leafing, the gilded leafing on that die cut. So for this one, it's easier if you have, these are the Sizzix adhesive sheets. If you don't have these, like even like your Xyron sticker sheets and stuff, you can also take your Tombow and put this all over your cardstock and let it dry until it gets tacky. And then you can put your cardstock on top of that is another way of doing it. But these, Stampin' Up! Used to sell these. They came in a 12 by 12. And I forgot I even had them. So I'm just trying to use them up. So anyway, so I cut this down to so it would fit my die cut. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove, I should do where it says here, peel here. I'm going to remove the backing. I'm going to place my cardstock on top of this tacky surface. Sorry, my greyhounds are in the background. They're fluffing their beds. For those of you who've been stamping with me, you know the greyhounds love to be in the stamp room with me, hence Stampin' with the Hounds. And with today, what was it, like negative 30 some degrees outside? Oh my gosh, so cold. And so yeah, they've been hanging out with me in the craft room today. Okay, so now I've got my cardstock on that adhesive sheet. And then all I'm going to do, I'm going to do this off screen. I'm going to place my die cut on top. So I've got my cardstock and my sticker sheet. I'm going to place this and run it through my Big Shot to die cut it really quick. Okay, and then because this is a pretty intricate die, I like to take my little die brush. So this is your pick tool. This is like one of the accessories. And I'm just going through and pulling out all these little pieces. And this is where I put it on the floor, and then Jeff's like, why is your desk such a mess? I'm like, I try and hit the garbage can. I try. Okay. Get all those out, and then just take the other end of your pick tool, pull those out, and then I'm going to just lift this up. I can get it going. Sometimes you have to use a little. Use that brush to get everything picked up here. Well, my other one, it like popped up right away. There we go. And then very carefully pry that up. Okay. And this die is from the Band Together stamp set. And then this is the detailed band. So it has all these really pretty different intricate bands for your cards. And then it actually die cuts out the flower. Then it has some other shapes and stuff for the die cutting. So super fun. Okay, so now we've got this die cut out. Now the fun part, and I want to make sure, before I do this, I want to make sure that adhesive is like really pressed into that cardstock, because this is such a detailed die. So I'm just taking my bone folder and really burnishing just to make sure that that adhesive is transferring to the cardstock. And then I'm just going to take my pick tool and just pry this apart so I can get my adhesive. So now I've got basically a sticker. So now all of this is tacky. This is now a sticker. So I'm going to place, easier said than done, sticker side up. Oh, and I tore it a little bit. Oh, we'll see if that'll attach and stay. We may have to futz with that when we're done. There we go. Okay. So now same thing. Take up some of your gilding. And like I said, I like to put a bunch on there and then take a chunk and start to burnish in a circular motion, kind of tapping and pressing all of this gilding leaf onto that adhesive. Kind of tap, tap, tap. So I've got it all covered. And then you'll start to take and press with your fingers in a circular motion. You're just kind of burnishing, getting rid of some of that excess. And literally, like, you guys, this, it feels like silk. Like, it's so soft. And this is like so much more amazing than like gold embossing powder. Like, in person, this is so pretty. This is beautiful. Oh, and I tore that again. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to get some of this stuff, the excess, just because there's some pretty good chunks in here. I'm going to pick that up, put it back in my tray. Okay, and then I'm going to go back with that sponge, and then very lightly, because I've got this torn, because I have to be really careful here. Use my glue pen when I get done here. So very lightly, I'm just getting more of that excess. Foil off. So in that circular motion, okay. And then for any of these pieces that are excess, I'm just going to kind of poke those out using my pick tool. And then this part where it kind of tore, all I'll do is I'm just going to put a little bit of two-way glue and then just kind of press it and hold that in place. So then you'll just get rid of kind of some of that excess. And then that is, let's just kind of get rid of some of that. Isn't that pretty? Oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. So on this card, what I did is I just placed, so this is just cardstock on the back side. I just put my two-way, or my Tombow multi-liquid glue. I put that on the back, and I just pressed it down onto a piece of DSP, and then I put my stamped image, the band together stamp set on top of that for that one. So that's using your Gilded Leafing with your die cut. So that's that one. Okay, and then again, let's, woo. And literally, when you're working with this stuff, do not have a ceiling fan going above you or sneeze, because it is like fine pixie dust. Okay. Then the last, oh my gosh. Okay, the last one I wanted to show you was using the Gilded Leafing with a stencil on this one. So this one I actually did the Gilded Leafing and I did some black glitter. So again, I'm using the Sizzix sticker sheets again for this technique. So I'm just going to take my, like I said, you can use your Swiffer sheet or a bounce fabric sheet. This is again just a micro cloth. Just kind of get rid of some of that excess foil. All right, so this one I've got black cardstock, and I've got my sticker sheet again. And again, if you don't have the sticker sheet, you could do like the liquid. You could do the liquid glue. Put it all over, and then let it dry until it's tacky. Or you can use the liquid monoliquid glue. Same thing. And then you could also do the Versamark with the heat and stick powder, and then make sure it's tacky. But this, to be honest, I feel like this is just a lot easier using the adhesive sheet. So I need to place this. So I've got my sticky side. I'm only placing this on one side of my black cardstock, and I want to make sure I'm on the edge. And then, oh, holy sticky. I'm going to take my bone folder because I want to transfer that adhesive onto my cardstock. Okay. And then we will get rid of that excess adhesive. And then we'll peel this up, and I want to make sure, actually there's a little bit more here, because I want all of this to be a sticker. You can see that where it's, this is all sticker. So you can kind of see I've got a little section here that didn't quite get it. So I'm going to take that 2A glue pen and I'm just going to fill in where my sticker. I'm going to let that get tacky. Okay, so while that's doing that, I'm going to take my silicone mat again. And I'm going to place my cardstock on the silicone mat. And then I'm taking one of our stencils. And when I'm doing the stencil, like I'm lining it up so that this part here is like right onto the edge of my cardstock, because I want my design to fit. So I'm just getting right on the edge. That looks good. Right on the edge. And I'm just going to press that down. And I'm going to lift this up. Get out my tray. I know it's kind of hard to see, but actually maybe I will. Hold on here. Just so you can see because it's black on black. So I'm just going to get some of my little grid paper here so you can see better. So I've got the black cardstock. I've got my adhesive on this side and then my stencil on top. So now I'm going to go back in with this gilded leafing. And I know this is like crazy. Look at all this leafing. But I actually like to have a bunch because then I can just take take it with my fingers and then just start burnishing that into those crevices where the adhesive is. And just kind of pressing down in a circular motion. You're just kind of blending that in. Take out some of those big chunks, put it back in your tray. And then just circular motion. Just blending that into that adhesive. And then picking up any excess, putting it back in your tray. And then I'm just really kind of rubbing that in, making sure that it's all nice and pressed into that adhesive. Okay. And then on the stencils, this is where I do like to take like a stiffer brush and then in a swirling motion, this is like I said, this is like just a stencil brush that you use with your stenciling inks. And I'm just upright motion, circular motion. I'm just burnishing, making sure it's all good and pressed into that stencil. Lots of fine dust. So it's like when I get done, I am like, my face is covered in glitter or in a gold foil, but it's so pretty. Okay. And then when I get this done, I actually just put my stencil in a container that's got like some soapy water. That way it just helps get some of that gilding leafing off of the stencil. Ooh, big chunk there. We'll put that back in the tray. And these are pretty big, so we'll put those back in. The rest of these pretty fine, so we'll just clear that off. Okay, so now I want to remove my stencil. And we'll just throw that in my soapy water. Okay, so now because I had done my sticky sheet, this is still tacky, okay, where the black is exposed. So this is where I decided I'm going to fill in that tacky part with glitter. So I had a ton of, Stampin' Up! Had several years ago, they had like the black and the gold for Halloween, the glitter. I mean, look at this container. It's huge. And I used it a lot. And I'm still a big old full thing of glitter. So I'm like, well, you know what? We're going to use it up. So now I'm putting it back in my tray. And I'm just going to dump this black glitter on top of that negative part that was still tacky. And then again, I'm going to take my stipple brush and I'm just going to, in a circular motion, kind of get rid of some of that excess glitter. And then just kind of press down any of that foil that still seems to be loose. And then everything feels pretty good. And then that can just be funneled back into my glitter jar container. Glitter and black and gold. Go Hawkeyes. For my sister who went to University of Iowa. All right, so there is the stenciled background with the gilding leafing, and then the black glitter. So that is what I did on this card using the Band Together stamp set. So I did Blackberry Bliss as my card base, and then this is that quarter sheet of black cardstock with the gilded leafing, and then the black glitter, and then I just did my Stampin' Blends. I did Highland Heather and Blackberry Bliss, and then Old Olive and a little bit of Granny Apple Green. And then this part I did with the Purple Posy cardstock, and then this I just embossed in gold embossing powder for the sentiment. So there you go. We've got the gilded leafing with the stencils with die cuts, making a background or like a border with tear and tape, and then your heat and stick with like a two-step stamping, or even using your two-way glue pen. So I hope you try out the gilded leafing. It is so much fun, and I would love to see your creations on my Facebook page, Stampin' with the VIP Hounds. Hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.